Hello, my name is Matthew Deutsch and I'm a professional business plan writer. Today I'm going to be talking about writing a business plan specific for a food truck. Food trucks are one of my most favorite business plans to write. They're great businesses, they're relatively easy to start, the startup costs are relatively low, typically ranging anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. I have seen them go higher, especially if it's something along the lines of let's say a mobile pizza production business, or if it's a company that specializes in barbecue and they're bringing a huge amount of equipment with them, like smokers for ribs and brisket and things of that nature, then that cost can be somewhat higher. But generally speaking, the target range for starting this type of business is $50,000 to $100,000. In regards to a business plan, and I'm just going to go through this the way that I would write the business plan, I always do a 9-chapter, 5-appendice plan. I'm only going to cover the 9 chapters. The appendixes are mostly the SWOT analysis, the risk analysis, and then the expanded financial modeling and just the reference sources. So really the sort of the heart of the business plan is the first 9 chapters. It should always start with the executive summary, while this is the first chapter, it should be written last, primarily because it should serve as a roadmap for the business plan. Giving an overview sort of each section, showing a little bit of the anticipated financial modeling, especially if you're looking for a business loan or private investment. This is very important, but I'll cover that a little bit more towards the end. Chapter 2 in any business plan that I write is specific for the financing. Here you would discuss your startup costs, indicating exactly where the funds will be allocated in terms of acquiring the truck, retrofitting, general furniture, fixtures and equipment, leasing a commissary kitchen, things of that nature. Also, below there is a link to a full business plan that I wrote specific for a food truck, and it's a sample, but it shows exactly how a business plan that I would produce would look specific for a food truck. Chapter 3 is the operations. Here you can discuss the cuisine, the beverages you're offering, your pricing, the routes that you're going to be taking, as well as if you're going to be participating in any event related matters. One of the things I really like about food trucks is that there's a real diversification in their revenue. You can produce income not only by going through an established route, especially if you're in a busy area, but also working with wedding and event planners to provide mobile catering, also working with corporate event specialists for the same, sort of in the same vein. All of that can be covered directly in the operating section. Chapter 4 of every plan that I write is specific just as an overview of the organization, mostly just covering where it's registered and other sort of pedigree information about the business. Chapter 5, very important, is the market and industry analysis. In plans that I write, I break this down into 4 different sections. The economic analysis, which discusses the current state of the economy. The industry analysis, which discusses as a whole on a nationwide basis, number of food trucks, annual revenues, trends within the industry. The 3rd section of that is the customer profile and demographic analysis. This is going to be completely specific to your market, the types of people that you're going to be targeting, population density, median household income, median home value, so you can get a sense of what the wealth of the area is. And then this 4th section of that is the competitive analysis. What competitors are operating not only on a mobile basis, if you have a food, let's say if you're a barbecue food truck, are there other companies operating the same capacity? Are there restaurants that operate, serving the same cuisine within the market? Again, something very important to note because every business has competition. Also in this section, you can discuss how you're going to differentiate yourself from other competitors in the market. Chapter 6, I focus very heavily on the basis for growth. Are you going to develop additional food trucks in the future? Are you going to expand your catering operations? Are you going to go into other geographic regions to provide service there? All of those things are covered in that section. Chapter 7, the marketing plan, probably, besides the financials, probably the most important section of the plan, primarily because this is how you're going to get your name out there. Thoroughly discussing social media, search engine optimization, direct outreach with corporate event specialists, wedding planners, general event planners. All of those things should be very thoroughly covered within the marketing plan. You can also create a budget in terms of how you're going to allocate your marketing funds for each specific type of marketing. That's something I always do as a standard in any business plan that I write. Chapter 8 is the organizational plan. For a food truck, it's pretty straightforward. You're not really going to have too much employee staffing needs. Most of the time, it's going to be the owner that operates the business directly. may have support staff, especially if you're working in terms of a corporate event or a wedding event. Most of the positions for this type of business are hourly positions. So you can clearly delineate that within a table, the owner's salary, support staff per hour, what's that going to be per year? Those can be clearly put into that section of the plan. Chapter 9, the financial plan. This is the most important part of the business plan, especially if you're looking to raise capital, because any individual or bank is going to want to completely understand exactly how much money you anticipate you're going to generate, what your expenses are, and will you be able to create a strong return on investment or repay the loan. Most people can very easily understand a profit and loss statement. Money coming in, money going out, profit or loss, and hopefully a profit. All those expenses, whether your commissary kitchen rent, utilities, truck maintenance, fuel costs, all of those can be put into the operating cost section. For your cost of goods sold, that would be things like the underlying cost of the food that you're providing, beverages that you're selling, that would all go in there. Fuel can also go in there. Typically, for most instances, I would put it directly in the operating costs, mainly because it's not a true direct cost of rendering service, although I have seen that done in the past. You're also going to need a cash flow analysis and a balance sheet, especially if you're raising capital from a third party. As it relates to the cash flow analysis, this looks similar to a profit and loss statement, but it just tracks the cash. The top line is always the net profit plus depreciation. And if you don't know what depreciation is or any of the terms regarding financial modeling are complicated to you, there's another video I've linked down below that discusses all of this in depth. It's a wonderful sedative if you want to sit there and go through it. But that will give you a good overview of how these two additional financial tables work. Also in the cash flow analysis would be the amount of outlay for starting the business, especially as it relates to fixed assets like the truck or any equipment you're buying. And then it also shows reinvestment and dividends. The balance sheet is a little bit more straightforward. Assets, liabilities, equity. If you're self-financing this business or you're acquiring capital from an investor, then assets and equity will be somewhat similar because you don't have a business loan, which would be considered a liability. If you are looking for a business loan, such as a conventional business loan or a line of credit or an SBA loan, that would go under long-term liabilities as well. And equity is essentially the value that you have in the business. One of the things I also include in every business plan I do as a standard is a break-even analysis and a business ratios evaluation, just to make sure that the business is properly hitting its financial targets to achieve profitability, as well as just important financial metrics just to understand ratios regarding the balance sheet and profitability. And again, the 5 other appendices are just supportive of the rest of the plan. As I noted down below, there's a full sample business plan that you can take a look at. It is a sample. As a professional business plan writer and someone who does this, all of my work is done under a confidentiality agreement. So any of the samples you see on my website, again, were written solely as samples to be shown to other people. There's also a financial model you can download. No registration needed, just hit download. It's a profit and loss statement that can help you in terms of putting together your financial modeling. In closing, that's pretty much it. If you are in need of a business plan or you have questions regarding the startup of a food truck, please feel free to reach me anytime. We've been in business for 20 years and the name of the company is Deutsch & Thomas. We're actually undergoing a rebranding at the moment. Just after 20 years, it's time to liven things up a bit. So our new website is humanintelligencebusinessplans.com. We have a ton of samples on there. We also do pitch decks as well. So if that's something you need, that's something that we can do. We create both static and interactive pitch decks, and there are a number of videos that showcase that. Again, thanks for taking a look. And again, any questions, feel free to reach me anytime. Take care.